I quit. I was working at one of the largest tech companies in the entire world, and I was making more money than I thought would ever be possible for myself to make. I got free lunches every day, I got free snacks, free drinks, I got to travel the world. They flew me to Germany, they flew me to Ireland, I went to California many times. I was doing a job that would make my parents proud, and by current societal standards, it was a job that proved that I made it. However, the one little issue with this whole thing is that I was completely miserable, and yet it still took me 8 years to do something about it. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience in quitting my great job. I have waited a year since quitting to make this video, and I just felt like the time was right. I hope that sharing this can give you a different perspective, and if you are in the same position as me, I hope that this can help you, or in the very least make you feel like you're not so alone. So I went to business school, and after I graduated, I got a job in tech. That was my first job out of school. I was super grateful to have that job. I was making slightly more than average, which meant that I had enough money to live my life, sustain my life, a little bit of savings, and those were the pros. But there were cons. I was working insane hours, I was super stressed, and to top that off, I had a really toxic boss. They were horrible, not only to me, but to everyone that they managed. Over time, I kind of just was sucking it up because, you can't leave, especially if it hasn't been 2 years or 3 years, because that would be just like a red mark on your resume, right? Have to do the right things for the resume. I think at that point it was a year, and my boss, to my surprise and delight, left the company. Except then came the next boss that I had at that company. They were even worse than my original boss, a snake, you could say. After a year and a half of working at this company, I really had just had enough. So I finally got another corporate job. This is the job at the big tech company that I felt so blessed to have. I didn't think that there was ever a way that I could do anything other than corporate. So of all my possibilities, this was the best possibility I could ever think of for myself. Now, the thing with working this type of job is that every year you get a pretty big cash bonus and stock bonus. And your salary, especially if you get promotions, can go up and up and up. And over time, that means that you just make more money, and you also get more stock to the company. So I felt so grateful to be in that position for the money. But I also felt like I was wasting my life literally one day at a time. And that bleak outlook, it never changed. One of the main reasons that led me to want to quit corporate was because of my realization around the lack of control you have with your bosses. In 8 years of working corporate, I had 10 bosses, and of the 10 bosses, only one was a truly good boss. Only one saw my true skills and strategy, nurtured it, fought for me to get promoted, fought for me to get pay raises that were fair, worked with me, but also let me lead when the times were right. Only one was a truly good leader, only one was a truly good manager, and all of these skills that I mentioned are CEO type qualities, and not that many people have them. So that 1 in 10 statistic was really sad to me. It also was a similar statistic to what I saw with my friends and families and their work situations as well. So that lack of control sucks, because what does that mean that you have to do for the other 9 out of 10 bosses? It meant that I had to prove myself over and over to show that I was worthy, to position myself in the right position with the right people, to get the right eyeballs, to get what was fair. And in other words, you could call that you need to play politics. A lot of people say that they find that really challenging. For me, it wasn't challenging. I knew how to do it. My dad was a CEO, so I knew how to do it. It's just that it's exhausting. You can't really let your whole true self be seen, and that's the part that I hated the most. So I'll give you a little example. I've talked on here a little bit about how I have ADHD, and that's never limited me professionally in my outputs or achievements. However, I did not think it would be politically wise, aka I thought it would be to my detriment, to share with 9 of 10 of my bosses that I have ADHD. So obviously I didn't share it. But how stupid is that? And how much does that suck? Basically means you can't show your true self, can't show your true weaknesses. You can't really be vulnerable at work, because that will probably screw you most of the time based on those statistics that I experienced. So go to your work, but don't show all of yourself. Don't be vulnerable, because that can screw you, but make your money, take that home, buy your fancy house, buy your car, go and travel, have all the stuff that you want in life, In having that job that makes you miserable, that makes your outlook on life really bad, at least you're making the money that allows you to live the life that you want. And you can live out that life on the evenings and weekends. Except in my experience, I might be alone here, but I wouldn't actually be happy on the evenings from Monday to Thursday, because Monday to Thursday evenings, it's like there's work the next day. Fridays were great. Friday nights, awesome. Saturday mornings, awesome. But by the time it was like Saturday night, that creeping feeling that the weekend's half over has already come in. I'm a little bit sad. On Sunday, I'm like, dang, I'm really sad because tomorrow is Monday. And then it repeats over and over and over. And I would just do that. And I did that for 8 years straight. And that's why my outlook was so bleak. I just couldn't get over it. For some people, I think you don't feel that way. But if you do feel like that, then, you know, it's worth it, right? Worth it for the money. Society pretty much tells you that that's the price you have to pay to be successful. But to me, it's not worth it. So many people will actually work themselves to the bone and sacrifice even their weekends and evenings. I think if you dig deeper and deeper down, I do think it was about achieving some sort of success, and deep down, deeper than that, it's really proving that you're worthy of success, and deeper than that, proving that you're worthy of love. And by that, what I really mean is worthy of your parents' love. A lot of times it comes back to that. And for me, doing this fancy corporate job was one of the first times ever that I was truly doing something that made my parents proud. But let me tell you, you can do something that makes your parents proud and completely be letting yourself down in life and wasting your life. And if your motivation is solely to make your parents proud and to prove that you're successful, it's kind of like a paper bridge. It's like self-worth that in a breath can be knocked down. And also, if you felt something was missing before, then you're still gonna feel like something's missing after. And you'll probably never really, you might think that you filled that void, but you probably haven't. Now, I was truly desperate to have a life for myself where I didn't dread my everyday working. And 2 years ago, I started this YouTube channel. And my goal was, like I mentioned, to be able to make enough money for myself so that I didn't feel the dread of working a typical corporate job. And it took me 2 years to get to the point where I was making maybe like a third of what I was making in my corporate job. And at that point, that's when I quit. And that was 1 year ago, by the way. Now, getting to the point of quitting was the hardest thing I've ever done. And you might think that it was the grind of the money that made it hard. It wasn't. It wasn't the hard work. It wasn't the fact that I didn't have a single day off for 2 years. The hardest part was that I didn't actually get any encouragement to do this. I didn't get any encouragement to quit or to have that as a goal. I would say I got the support from a couple people, maybe 1, 2 people supported me. Now, the difference between that is encouragement is like, I think it's a good idea for you to quit. You should quit when the time is right. That's encouragement. Supporting is kind of like, oh, you want to quit? Okay, like I support you in quitting. So I didn't get any encouragement. Mostly what I actually saw was fear from my loved ones of me giving up what made me successful. So essentially me giving up my worth. And that was really a hard pill to swallow. However, I am here to tell you that money does not make you successful. Making your parents proud, contrary to popular belief, because I feel like that's very popularized, but making your parents proud also doesn't make you successful. But the quality of your outlook on life means so much more. To be honest, since I quit my corporate job, I probably am 5 times more stressed and I work way more hours, but I don't have that dread. And that makes the work that I'm doing and how I'm spending my time every day feel so much more worth it. I don't have the lack of fear over whether or not I'll have a toxic boss. I don't have to spend hours and hours preparing presentations to make sure that when I present to like a VP, he's seeing me in a positive light and thinks that I'm smart. I don't need to have one-on-ones with my boss where I need to prepare what I'm gonna say. Those are all things that just brought me, well, not happiness. I won't call that it brought me any happiness at all. Now, I don't think that all companies are bad. I don't think all of them are toxic environments. I don't think all of them want you to work yourself to the bone and want the most out of you. But I have kind of observed that a lot of businesses, well, that is exactly what they're like, Countless times I've seen companies letting go whole teams, letting go whole division, turning around 3 months later, rehiring for the exact same positions, hiring new people, paying them way more than existing, more valuable, more knowledgeable employees, not giving people raises unless they have a job in hand and are basically ready to quit, not promoting people that should be promoted, asking people to sacrifice their personal time, but then turning around and firing them because they need to show better profit margins for shareholders. There's so many things like this that happen, and this just doesn't sound like, the most loving, enjoyable environment to be in. Sometimes it isn't like this, and if you're not in that type of position, you are very lucky, but a lot of times it is like that. A lot of times it is toxic, it's chaotic, and you have to play politics to get ahead. And all in all, if you're in that type of toxic position over and over, you're in it to either prove your worth, prove your worthiness of love, and or to make money. And here's the thing about money, okay? Obviously we need money to live our lives, to sustain our lives, to save for the future, to have security, to care for our families and our livelihood. But past a certain point, it doesn't really make a big impact on the quality of our lives. It doesn't really add to your self-worth. It doesn't make you cooler. It doesn't make you more lovable. It might on the surface, but it doesn't actually deep down inside. It also really doesn't help that there's so much societal pressure to achieve because money is idolized, success is idolized, the fancy things in life are so idolized. Do you really need the $1 million house or the luxury car? Because those things are certainly idolized. You definitely will feel cooler if you have those things. To be honest, I idolized those things a lot growing up. I really wanted a Cadillac XLR-V, that was my dream car. And as I thought about it more, I reflected on it when I got older, and I realized that a lot of my wanting that stuff was actually at its root to do with either influencing how people would see me or how even I would see myself. And it's obviously fine to have nice things in life. It's just that everything should be in balance. I'd also like to mention that it wasn't actually those rich life aspirations that kept me in corporate for as long as it did. But what actually kept me was probably two things. One was around this deep-seated fear of financial security, feeling like I won't have enough money to retire. I need more money just to feel comfortable doing it. To an extent, obviously that's fine. That's a smart decision to make. But on the other hand, I had to work a lot on myself to really believe that if I work hard and I keep working hard, I will be provided for in this earth. And then the other thing that was also really hard was around having the people closest to me going from thinking that I make really good decisions and I am really successful to thinking that maybe I make questionable decisions and maybe now I'm less worthy of success, or I am less successful, or I am giving away the thing that makes me successful in their eyes. That was very hard to overcome for me, especially after having the position that brought that sentiment of like, I'm making people proud. And if there is a deep-seated reason for why you're working so hard in a bad environment while still having a feeling of dread, or while dreaming of doing something different, whether that be dreaming of working for yourself or working for a startup or doing something completely different, even just at a different company, I want to encourage you then to dig deep and figure out what's holding you back, what's stopping you. Because if it's anything I mentioned in this video, then your life is being driven by something that is unlikely to bring you contentment. I believe that what is the most important is doing what's right for you, what's right for your soul, and what's the most likely to bring you contentment in life. On this channel, I do videos about home projects and other things that I find interesting, but the real purpose that I haven't actually vocalized before, although people who do watch me would see undertones of this, my real purpose is to kind of inspire people to think about things a little bit differently, to question the limits that our friends, families, and society at large place on us about what we should and shouldn't do, how we should and shouldn't think. To also look at the world and see wonder and opportunity, and also to just take life a little bit slower at whatever pace is right for you. I feel so thankful to be able to be in this position, to have had this opportunity. I'm so happy that I get to share it with you. I really hope that this video helped some of you if you're in a similar position to me and you're working towards quitting your corporate job. If you're in a corporate job and it's not anything that I described here, at least I hope that this gives you some insights. Maybe you have some friends or family that are in this type of position. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Love you. Bye.